Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. We got the old Tennessee squat going on here. That's what all the kids are doing here in the middle Tennessee area. I think they're doing it elsewhere too. I don't understand. Of course, I'm old enough to be their fathers, so I guess that's why I don't understand. Well, I spent today underneath this thing, and I'm going to go ahead and try and do a video when it's dark, because that makes sense. We'll do more tomorrow, but I just kind of wanted to show you what I did today. I got the other... Oh wait, I got these installed. I took some pictures of this, but I've never done a video of it. So these are my little, I don't know, Dion, oh, what would you call them? My Dion hub adapters, I guess you'd call them. And yeah, so 5x6 tube, 1/2 inch thick wall, and there's going to be another tube that goes from this one, goes in front of that motor mount, and goes over to that one, and it's going to act as the dead axle. I found a 3D CAD image online and had a friend model it up on the computer and took a whole bunch of measurements for me. I'll show you that here in a minute. But it allowed me to figure out that little 1-inch tube that the level is sitting on. That represents the center line of the axles. That it may not be entirely straight or level or whatever, but that tells me where they're at. And I've got them about a 1/2 inch narrower than the distance between my my hub adapters there. So that gives me a way to center the drive unit underneath the truck, and I can also, and from there I can take measurements to make sure that it's square. I have a historical bad habit of not getting drive units square in vehicles. I didn't do it with the Doka. I intentionally didn't do it on the Jeep, and in both cases it made driving very unpleasant. The Doka likes to throw half shafts, and the Jeep has a really bad vibration because the U-joints are in an awkward location. But anyway, this shouldn't have that same problem. I'm going to be able to get this squared up pretty good because I know what the offsets of the front mount and the rear mount are to center, so I can measure from the side of that mount over to the something that's solid, the chassis or the unibody or whatever, and then I can measure it to the other side and then just subtract the difference. So instead of it being exactly 30 inches or whatever, it'll be 29 on one side and 32 on the other, something like that. But and then likewise in the back, they have different offsets, but I know what they are. And then yeah, now if you look at how this is, you can't really see it, but I'll tell you what I'm talking about, and then we can talk. Then I'll show you the picture later. I've currently got this rear mount and the front mount parallel to the bottom of the truck. So I just measured from the center of the hole, the mount hole, up to the bottom of the truck, and it's the same on both sides. Now in the vehicle, the front mount is actually about 5 inches higher than the back, and I'm not sure why that is. I may end up still doing that, I don't know. But the problem, what happens is if I raise the front up 5 inches, what it does is it raises the center line of my drive shafts up too. And it also, if I want my drive shafts to be at least pretty close to the center line of my hub adapters, then that means I need to lower the back, and then I murder my ground clearance. So I did all this initially with no weight in the bed, and that was giving me some weird results because I had a ton of room above the drive unit, and I'm thinking to myself, well, hell, there's tons of room. I could put some batteries above that thing. Well, shoot, maybe I can get a Model 3 battery in here. And then it dawned on me, I was like, no, wait, dummy. If you have that motor mounted too low, whenever you put a load in the back of this truck, the truck's going to come down and the motor's going to come down with it because the motor's mounted to the truck. And you could end up with like no ground clearance, and that could be not good. So I needed to put some weight in the back. Now the battery is going to weigh roughly 600 pounds. The battery itself is probably going to be 540. Well, each of the modules are 52 pounds, I think. There's 10 of them, so 520. And then there's probably going to be, you know, 50, 60 pounds worth of box holding it, because I'm going to make them out of aluminum. So let's just call it 1,000 pounds between friends. So I needed to put about 1,000 pounds back there, but I'm also going to have the drive unit mounted to the bed of the truck too, so that's really going to be closer to 1,300 pounds. Well, I don't have 1,300 pounds of stuff, but what I do have is an old diesel engine that used to be in the front, a 5-speed transmission that used to be attached to the diesel with an electric motor attached to it, because until I ran into a dude that inspired me to do what I'm doing. And then I've also got another motor, so that's about 340. That's about, let's call it 200 pounds, maybe more, 250. So that makes us at what, 600 something, and then that's another 100 or so pounds. So I'm at 700, 800 pounds. It's not enough. It's not as much as it's going to be. But what that does tell me is I need new springs. I put that little 1/2-inch spacer under there just because this spring over on the passenger side has kind of given up the chat, has left the chat, as the kids say, and it started to bend really, really bad, and that bumper was starting to deform over one of those bolts. so I put that spacer on both sides, and that way it gives me some consistency between my left side and my right side ride height, with it being as low as it is, and so I can kind of measure stuff a little bit better, easier, whatever. But ultimately, like I said, with the front and the rear mounts, I'm going to measure it off the bottom of the truck, so you know, maybe the front and the back are the really critical ones. The one on the side, all it does is it holds up the motor. So the side we're looking at right now is the inverter. On the other side, the driver's side, is actually the motor side, and that's heavy. So there's a third mount over there, and that holds up that just holds the weight of the motor, and that could be adjustable, and I could, you know, put a level on it, put a level on the truck, and then put a level on the motor itself, and then I get a real, you know, then I'll know that it's straight. But anyway, that's what that is. And yeah, so this is really exciting. And I have my big old battery box over there, which I've modified so it's only 8 modules instead of 10. And back when this thing was 4 inches higher, I could slide it up underneath here, and it fits fine. It fits in there just great. I can have room in front of it and about 6 inches or so between it and that front motor mount, so there's tons of room. Going to be plenty of room for my little Dion tube. It's going to go across there. And what I may end up doing is I may just run this Dion tube underneath that front mount. Problem is, I don't know exactly what the front mount of the drive unit is. It's not that spindly. It's got some bulk to it. So I may just end up running it in front. So if I take from that mark right there, which is about 2.5 inches inboard, doesn't matter, and then run it over to the other side, and then have it about 2 inches, have the inside of the Dion tube about 2 inches in front of that mount. Then it'll definitely clear my motor, it'll clear the battery box, and that will be that. Now, getting that Dion tube and these hub adapters straight is going to be a challenge for sure. Work has a really thick aluminum plate that they use for their CNC machine, and it's got some machinist vices on it that I'll be able to use and move around and put some square blocks and try and get this thing aligned, because once it's together there won't be any adjustment. It's going to be welded together. So what I'll probably do is make my little piece that goes with my little Dion tube, so I have it tacked together, solidly tack it to these 2 hub adapters, carefully drop them down, put them in the back of the truck, take it all to work, and then just kind of try and square it up at that point. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. That's going to be fun. Let's see. I've been talking all about that side motor mount, and there's something I need to actually show you about the side motor mount. Oops. And that is that if I'm not careful, it hits pretty good, about 1/2 inch. If I have the motor centered, which I want it centered because I want both of the half shafts to be the same. I want them to be the same part number. Well, not, they won't be part number, they're going to be custom, but I want them to be the same length. Don't really need to be the same length. It's not like we're going to have torque steer or anything, especially if it's only, you know, a ½ inch difference from one side to the other. But my OCD will thank me at night if I make them the same. But yeah, so you can see that it does kind of hit. So I'm going to need to trim this back part anyway. And I was wanting to do that anyway. I wanted to trim it, if for nothing else, just for aesthetics. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. This is kind of fun. Check this out, if I can find it. Hold please. I found it. So this is the disc from the Volkswagen, and this is the disc from the Tesla Model S. Look at that dude. Isn't that crazy? It's so much bigger. It's like the center hub is almost the same as the disc. I mean, it's maybe an inch. It's maybe an inch smaller. And this is the rear disc. How crazy is that? And one of the problems with the Model S is in a high performance situation, they say there's not enough braking. Like, holy shit. But anyway, that's kind of fun. And the reason I have this disc off, let's talk about that a little bit, is I took the front end of this thing apart, I got the hub off, and pressed the hub out. Got the spindle off and pressed the hub out. So this is the drive shaft. It's spline there for the half shaft. But I got that pressed out because I want this to have the same lug pattern as that. So this is a 4x100, 4 lugs with a 100 millimeter circle. And then this is a 5x120. 5x120 isn't a hugely popular, not as popular as like 5x5 or 5x other ones. But, you know, it's what the Tesla has, so that's what we're going to do. And, yeah, this needs to be that. And you can get adapters to go from 4x100 to 5x120. And I may end up doing that. Is it a problem? There's maybe a problem. Is it a problem? It's about 1.5 inches thick is how thick the aluminum is to do that. And, you know, that may not be a big deal. I'll just have different offset on the front wheels than I have on the back wheels, which is fine because most likely the front wheels are going to be skinnier anyway, mostly because they'll have to be because the front steers, the back doesn't. But speaking of that, all right, so this is a little after the video, but through the magic of editing, it's all seamlessly integrated. So I was talking about this, and I never finished my story. So I can get those hub adapters to give me 5x120s. They're 1.5 inches thick, and that's okay. Or another thing I was thinking I could do is, this is about a 1/2 inch thick-ish. What I could do is I could make a ring that's a little bit taller, and oh, easy there, killer. That's a little bit taller, and make it so that you know, the ring would only need to be a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch bigger. And if I were to have that chamfered all the way around and weld that to this thing, put it on a mill or on a lathe and face this edge so that it's flat, and then I could, you know, I'd have these holes welded shut. Then I could, you know, mill this flat and then just re-drill. I could put this in a horizontal or vertical mill and drill my 5x120 pattern. And then I would have a 5x120 pattern that fits in the Volkswagen spindle and it doesn't stick out more. And then I could have similar back spacing on my wheels. Okay, back to the video. If this is, you know, let's pretend that this is how high the rear stub axle is going to be off the ground, how high the wheel is, the center of the wheel is going to be off the ground, then that means that this is about a 12.5 inches from the ground to the middle of that. So that means I can fit a 25 inch, oh my God, the President of the United States, fit a 25 inch wheel tire. And this was just there so that I could see, do I actually clear it? And this was a really great time to test this because that's as low as this suspension's ever going to get. And if this doesn't hit anything when the suspension's that low, then man, we're golden. In fact, it's really, really good. In fact, I could probably, maybe even should look at different, maybe even slightly bigger. But problem is, I don't want to go too big. I certainly don't want to go too big with wheels. If you go really big with wheels, then you have to end up going lower profile with your tire, which is fine because it's, you know, low profile tires are cool, but it makes a sort of harsher ride and it's not as efficient as a smaller wheel with a fatter sidewall. So, and then also, as long as the wheel doesn't hit the arches at any point, that means that my tire width can go as you know, say within an inch of the inner wheel well to maybe sticking out like an inch. And that works out to like 12 inches. I could put a 12-inch tire back here quite easily, but I think I'll just stick with a 10. And a 10-inch tire is a 255. And if I put it on 15-inch rims, that means I go with a 255/50 R15. I could put it on 17-inch rims. That's a 255/40 17. But I think 17-inch rims might look kind of silly. Have you seen those donks? They take old cutlasses or something like that and they put these ridiculously big wheels and skinny tires on it, and they look a little bit silly. It wouldn't be full donk, but it might look weird. I don't know. I think Tire Rack has a little thing on their website where you can tell it what your vehicle is and then simulate different wheel and tire combinations in there. So I may do that, check that out and see how that works out. But anyway, hell, we're already at 15 minutes and this is just part one of what will probably be a part 2 video. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Oh yeah, one more thing. This has been a busy day, hasn't it? I went ahead and got my scalpel out. I'm kind of surgical with those things, and cut out this nasty piece of metal out of there. I got some 20 gauge steel off of Amazon and cut out a little patch piece, and it goes right there, right like that. It's a little bit too big, so I'll have to trim it down. And then I'll go ahead and I'll get the angle grinder and go ahead and grind all that back down to bare metal and try and push this. I don't know what this crap is. It's some sort of maybe sound deadening or something like that, but that's the reason this thing rusted out, because water got behind there and it just got trapped and it ate away from the inside out of this metal. So that's kind of a bummer. But what that means is that, you know, this is going to follow suit. So I may need to get that door card off and see if I can't get all that crap out of there and do like a rust treatment on the inside. I don't know. That's another day. But, and then I got to digging around at that little crack. Last time I just sort of hit that with an angle grinder. Well, it was back here too. And there's like a 1/4 inch of Bondo right here. So someone, instead of trying to fix the dent, they just fixed it with Bondo. Well, that's stupid. I'm going to get one of those like spot welders. It spot welds little pegs. So you put all these little spot welded pegs on here, and you take a slide hammer, bam, bam, and you slowly work the dent out. So I'm going to try and do that. And it's all the way back here. Who knows how far it goes. But I'll go ahead and remove all that Bondo and, you know, find all any other dents, because I want to make this thing pretty. There's a dude, his name's Kevin Erickson, and he's got a TikTok. It's Mopar Man, something like that. But he's also got a YouTube page. Go check it out. He did an electrolyte, a Plymouth electrolyte. Unbelievably beautiful car. I mean, when the car came out of the factory, it was just like, I don't know, just an old person car. It's this ugly thing, but he's got that thing dropped down low and a nice paint job and big Tesla, or not Tesla, but big rims on it. It just looks fantastic and it goes like stink. But he's kind of my inspiration for making this look good. And also my little Cub Cadet, I made that really nice, so I have to maintain that standard. So once I get all the batteries in there and the drive unit and all these mounts sorted out, the only way to do this, man, and it's going to suck and it's going to make the build take a lot longer, but is to rip all this stuff out there, rip all the wiring, get everything out, get this thing down to what's called a body in white, and take the whole shebang to a sandblaster somewhere and have them just sandblast the whole doggone thing. and that's gonna, you know, it's gonna make it painting easier, but it's also gonna find a whole bunch of, well, it's gonna find more of this, because if there's more Bondo and there's rot underneath the Bondo, it just hasn't poked through yet. It's going to. So if I'm going to put a paint job on this, I need to know, I need to fix the body. I need to have it right, and that's what I'm going to do. It's going to make it very expensive, and it's going to make it take it a whole lot longer. But you know, do it right or don't do it at all. At least that's what I say now. All right, this is definitely long enough. We will see you later.